Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order, 6:06. We'll do roll call, starting with myself, President Pryor,
Vice President Jared,
Paige Barnum, Vice President Finance.
Trustee West, Secretary.
Trustee Jennifer Marlowe.
Trustee Paige Allen.
Trustee Robinson,
Trustee Masinsky.
Trustee Rush.
thank you. And staff, please introduce yourself as well.
Executive Director Andrea Nicolai.
Director of Finance, Adam Stump. Ron Smith, Board Treasurer.
Thank you. Is there any,
Amy Metzger, Assistant Director. Mackenzie Clark, Counsel for the Library.
thank you. Is there any public comment? Of the audit report?
Welcome to Chris from MMB and Company. And we're just going to set him up with a PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Chris Healy. I'm an audit partner at Mengel Metzger Barr, or MMB. And in the past, we've gone through the financial statements and reports, which you all received in advance, but there's probably about 70 pages worth of material there. So rather than flipping through the reports, I decided to try something a little different and go with a PowerPoint presentation format. So hopefully this works well for you and you don't have to flip through as many pages. So you did engage us to audit the financial statements for the year ended June 30, 2024. And we're responsible to plan and perform our audit procedures using professional judgment to form and express an opinion on your financial statements. As a part of that, we're obtaining reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance. So that means that we're not looking at everything that happens at the library during the year, but we are focusing on areas of higher risk and planning and performing our procedures to be responsive to those risks. We also consider your internal controls as a part of designing those procedures, but we don't provide an opinion on your internal. We're responsible for communicating significant matters, which is part of what we're doing here this evening. We did conduct the audit in accordance with the planned scope and timing that was communicated in the engagement letter. We are required to be independent of the library and meet our ethical responsibilities, and we have done both of those things. Management reviews and accepts the financial statements. So as part of our process, we do prepare the financial statements on behalf of management based on information provided by management. So as part of the process, management reviews those financial statements, asks questions, provides any changes or updates, and then accepts responsibility for the financial statements. Significant risks identified. So as part of the process, we're required to communicate to you any significant risks that we identified during the audit process. The two that you see on the screen here, management override of internal controls and improper revenue recognition, are really presumed to be significant risks in any audit that we perform. And really the reason behind that is that if you have a good system of internal controls, but there's a way for management to circumvent those controls in one manner or another, that could be significant, and you would certainly want to know about that. And then improper revenue recognition, there's a risk that you might want to make the library look better than what the actual performance was. So as part of the audit process, we spent more time and effort in these two areas than in other areas. We have no findings to report in either of these areas, which lets you know that we didn't encounter any issues with those. Your significant accounting policies are included in footnote number 1 to the financial statements. All financial statements have estimates in them. Some are more significant than others. There are 2 significant estimates to your financial statements, and both involve actuarial calculations. The first is related to your retiree health liability. So that's an actuarial calculation that takes into account what the actuary believes the library will owe in the future for current employees when they retire, based on the current collective bargaining agreements. That assumes that the library essentially goes out of business at the point in time at the end of the year, which is obviously not going to happen. So you'll never have to pay this liability out all at once, but you're required to report that full liability on the financial statements. You will continue to pay those premiums as they come due each year, which is part of that budget process in the general fund. Similarly, you're part of the New York State Local Employees Retirement Fund. The state actuary provides information related to that plan, and you're again required to record that liability. Same thing, you would never be required to pay that liability all in one time. You would continue to pay those contributions as they come due. We did not encounter any significant difficulties in performing the audit. We had no uncorrected misstatements, and we had no material corrected misstatements. What that means is the information that you're seeing on an ongoing basis through the year is complete and accurate. We're not having to come in and propose significant adjustments to those figures to get you to what you see in the financial statement report with our opinion. We had no disagreements with management. Management provided us with a management representation letter stating that they were truthful, accurate, and honest, provided us with all the information that we requested, and no other significant matters to be reported in that communication. So the next section is the audit report itself. So this would be in that main financial statement packet. So we have audited the financial statements as of and for the year ended June 30, 2024. And in our opinion, those financial statements do present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the library. So that's the clean or unmodified opinion that you're looking for. That's the highest level of assurance that we can provide that says, based on our work, we do believe that the financial statements are fairly stable. Again, basis for opinions, we conducted our audit in accordance with professional standards. We're independent. We met our ethical responsibilities. We believe that everything we did as part of the process gives us a sufficient basis for that opinion. Management is responsible for the financial statements. That includes internal controls. We're responsible to obtain reasonable assurance to support our opinion. We exercise professional judgment. Again, we plan and perform our procedures based on the risk assessment. We obtain an understanding of your internal controls, but we don't provide an opinion. Additionally, we evaluate your significant accounting policies and estimates through the process. And then the last report that's included in that main financial statement packet is the independent auditor's report on compliance based on an audit of financial statements conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. So because you're a government entity, we're required to do some additional work that really relates to considering your internal controls. So again, we consider your internal controls, but we don't provide an opinion on your internal controls. If we had anything that we felt was a significant deficiency or material weakness, we would report those items to you. And we have no matters to report in that front. On compliance and other matters, again, required to consider that. We do plan and perform procedures over compliance with contracts, grants, laws, regulations, things of that nature. If there's any non-compliance required to be reported, we would report that to you, and we have no findings to report in this area either. So I just want to touch on a few highlights as we go through here. So the balance sheet for governmental funds. So this is the fund level. This is probably most similar to what you would see on an ongoing basis that presents your general fund and your capital projects fund, as well as your debt service fund. So I just wanted to point out here that at the end of June 30, 2024, we did have about 5.1 million in unassigned fund equity or fund balance in the general fund. And then again, on the statement of revenues, expenditures. Like my click, sorry. Statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund equity. You did have a deficiency of revenues over expenditures for the current year in the general fund that really related to transfers over to the capital projects fund related to some of the work that you did as part of the budget process. So that's really what drove that deficiency. It wasn't something operationally. It was that you had some funds set aside for capital projects that were transferred over during. Capital assets. So I always like to point this out because this is not included on your fund financial statements. And a lot of governmental organizations tend to not really look at the long-term picture as much. So just like to point out that you do have about 29 million of capital assets net of accumulated depreciation. So that includes all of your branches, all of your computers and equipment and things of that nature that are within the branches. So just, again, something that sometimes doesn't get looked at too much. So I just like to throw it in here for you for ease of reference. And then similarly on your long-term obligations. So again, these long-term obligations aren't all due at one time. You'll see on the far right column, there's the due within 1 year. So that's what you're expected to pay in this 24-25 year related to these long-term obligations. And then lastly, payments in lieu of taxes. So you don't have a lot of control over this item, but the city, the county, sometimes the IDAs negotiate tax agreements with organizations to entice them to come into the area. You have little control over that. So you did have a reduction of what you would have received in property tax revenue. That net total was about 292,000 of what you should have received versus what you did receive in pilot payments. So again, that's not something that the library did or did not do. That's those agreements that were negotiated on your behalf. Again, sometimes you don't have much input in that, but just something that I like to point out that that is out there, that if you had received the full value of that, you would have had about 300,000 more for the year ended June 30, 2024. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I know I went through that a little quickly. I wanted to touch on the key points, but certainly if there's anything else, I'm happy to answer any questions. And before that, I just want to say a big thank you to Adam and Sean and the team at the library. A pleasure to work with your team. Very timely and always provide us with everything that we ask for. So, a big thank you to them for a smooth process. Questions?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the financial statement as prepared by MB and Company.
I make a motion that we accept.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. An agenda. Actually, in regards to the minutes. An agenda. At the registry. There was programming for 2,500. I just wanted to know what that programming was. It's check number 17043.
That's a grant, that's an entirely grant-funded program series with an Indian music group. And it's an annual program series that we've been able to, with that, with the grant funding that comes in to support it.
What grant is that?
It's a grant that goes to the Indian Music Group, Devesh Chandra, and I'm not sure where the grant comes from to them, but they ask us to be the location for the public programming, and it's features Indian American dance.
Right, but we're receiving a grant and paying them out.
We don't receive the grant, so the Indian dance group receives the grant, and Adam.
So the grant is from the Art Center of the Capital Region. They actually do pay us. They send us a check for the full amount, and then we pay the Vest Chandra. So the grant is through the Art Center of the Capital Region.
That's the totality of the grant, the 2,500, and then you.
Yes, that is the entire grant.
Thanks, Adam.
Any other questions regarding the check registry? Capital Fund check registry? Any questions? I would like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Move to accept the consent agenda inclusive of the minutes and the two check registers. Trustee Allen, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Oh,
The reports this month cover September 2024, which was 25% of the way through our 2025 fiscal year. Support and revenues overall were in line with the approved budget for the first quarter of the fiscal year, with interest income trending over budget. Expenditures overall were slightly above the approved budget, mainly due to administrative and miscellaneous and IT costs continuing to trend over budget.
and just a couple of quick points of interest. Our National Grid bills totaled just under $12,000 in September compared to just over $15,000 in September of last year. And our total salary expense in September was just over $351,000 compared to just over $330,000 in September of 23. If anyone has any questions on any of the reports, be happy to address those.
Just confirming, it is September to September, not September to August.
That is correct.
Okay,
Yeah, that is a
thanks.
typo, unfortunately. Sorry about that.
Is this the LEDs coming to save us again?
Yes, it is.
Treasurer report.
Our memo sort of
Okay.
encompasses all the reports.
Bond. Committee and liaison report on the executive committee yesterday. In reference to assigning the committee. It's a long time coming, but we got it done. So thank you, executive committee, for taking the time out of your schedules and send it over to Terry. She will give you your assignments.
Thank you, President Pryor. So the executive So the final committee listing is as follows. For the executive committee, it is President Pryor as the chair, Vice President Gauze, VP of Finance, Trustee Barnum, and Secretary Trustee West. For the Finance Committee, Trustee Barnum is the chair, Trustee Rush, and Trustee Allen. For the Personnel Committee, Trustee West is the chair, Trustee Marlowe, and Trustee Allen are members. Policy and Governance, Trustee Gauze is the chair, and members are Trustee Robinson and Trustee Marlowe. Which one? The names or the name of the committee? Policy and Governance. And they're all listed on board docs. So if you go under Executive Committee, you can pull it up and you'll see the committee assignments. Nominating Committee, Trustee Mazinski, Chair, Trustee Robinson and Marlowe, members. Facilities, Trustee Mazinski, Chair, Trustee Rush and Trustee Allen, members. FFPL, Trustee President Pryor, and Upper Hudson Library is Trustee Mazinski. And those are the committee assignments.
Thank you, Trustee West. My excitement to get the assignments, the committees assigned to you. Does any trustee have any reporting out? That's what they did for the month. Trustee Rush.
Hello. Sorry. I attended the Friends and Foundation of the Albany Public Library Gala. I believe it was a great success. We'll hear a little bit more about it, I think, from Executive Director Nikolai, but it was great to see a bunch of supporters of the library jam completely Cafe Madison. So that was great. And I also attended the Washington Park Lantern Parade, which is not a program of the public library, but we help with providing the kits that people can take home and make their own lanterns. So it was really great to have on the first day that the clocks change. It's always a beautiful way to kind of bring community together and get some light going, and the library helps with that.
Thank you, and thank you for mentioning the gala. I'd like to thank my fellow trustees, Vice President Gauze for standing in my place. Thank you. So Trustee West, you also had a
Actually attended. I'm gonna say it wrong. But I'll say, look up around the room. I attended the artwork for the prisoners. But Executive Director Nikolai, can you say the proper name of the event?
Sure, yeah, it was Prisoners Legal Services, and the show is untitled Art from Behind Bars.
Yes. So it was absolutely phenomenal. The artwork was really, really, and is, as you can see, really, really moving, especially when you look past the artwork and look at what they used to create the artwork. So I know one of them, I don't have my glasses on, but it's yellow, so I can see it. The yellow one not only has intricate artwork, but it's made from an envelope. So it's different things like that to see how what they used, what they had, and it's very, very creative. I would encourage everyone to take the time to actually walk up and look over at it. I think I wound up taking pictures of several of them that just spoke to me. And it's just really, it was really moving and a really great collaboration. And I definitely am proud to be a trustee member of the library that showcased this beautiful work.
Trustee Barnum?
Yeah, I attended a handful of events in the past month, and just to bring attention to some that perhaps haven't been mentioned, I attended the misinformation and voter manipulation talk that was hosted at the Howe branch by Professor Vera Kelly, who's from Siena. And I also just want to give compliments to, I believe, the staff members, Meg, that organized that event. Because I think, libraries are actually some of our remaining trusted institutions in this country. And so I think using that facility to bring information and awareness to people and equip them with resources to, better secure voting rights for everyone is an important endeavor. So I thought that event was particularly meaningful. And then just my own enjoyment that I got from attending the Silent Film Spectacular here at Washington Avenue Branch. They had a series of short silent films playing on the screen, but they had a sort of assembly of 4 different musicians who had composed an original score and perform music live as the films were playing on the screen. And I thought it was like not only just the sheer turnout, but the age range of people. And I think a lot of folks that might not otherwise see in the library, it turned out kind of a whole different thing. It's been like that in the library before, and I really enjoyed it. So thought it.
Thank you. The weekend of the gala, I wasn't in town. However, I did go to a library where I was at Rehoboth Beach Library, and I actually text Executive Director Nikolai because they had a Halloween contest that they were doing throughout town. And so I thought it would be cool if, because one of the branches, well, the only branch in Rehoboth was decorated. So I thought maybe next year, like all the branches could have a Halloween contest, and, the patrons would vote on whose was the best, because that was, some of the organizations or some of the businesses in town, they really get into it and who was number one. So I thought that would be kind of cool and fun. That's what I do when I'm out of town, go to the libraries.
It's not a proper call out, but I was recently at a conference in Minneapolis and I too went to the library just to check it out.
Thank you. All right. We're going to. Right, so the next topic on the agenda is the upcoming committee. Now, if you have your assignments, you have to tell me when you're going to meet. No, not right now, but sometime in the future, in the near future, you let us know. So director's report.
Okay. And I look forward to working with all the committees this year. Thank you very much to the executive committee for all those assignments. So starting off through the introduction, and this report is available on board docs for public viewing. I always like to remind people that all of this material is discussed in the meeting. So we relaunched our Growing Readers Early Literacy Program in October with a Harvest Fest at the Delaware Avenue branch, and it was a great success. We signed up a bunch of little readers for the Growing Readers program, which is a program catering to kids 0 through 5. So it's meant to get kids ready for kindergarten, ready for learning how to read. And I'm really happy that we're putting a big push behind this program, because I think it's so important. It goes to so many different aspects of society to have kids ready to read and excited about reading when they're in school. Each kid who enrolls in the program, and it's very easy to just call the branch, any branch, and enroll. And every couple of months, you can come in and receive a new book for keeps. And it's a really program for all caregivers and parents who want to promote reading to their kids. Also in October, we welcomed our new head of public safety, Matt Leibowitz, started on October 21st, and he is supervising our community engagement clerk team, which those community engagement clerks are in 5 of our locations, and he's also working on refining our practices across all 7 branches and connecting with the larger safety network in the capital region. And he's already made a lot of inroads there. spends a lot of time going self known to staff and known to our patrons. He's building trust, he's building relationships with staff across the district, and he has some great ideas about how to further refine our safety practices, really also including fire evacuation and drills, things of that nature. So with all of his wealth of knowledge, background, services, and crisis mental health care, we just really hit the gold mine, I think. So I'm excited about Matt working with us. And I also am going to bring him to the December trustees him, and he can introduce himself to the board. We did see an uptick in October, unfortunately, and that is somewhat related to the seasonal uptick that we see as the holidays approach every year. So really Matt's start date was perfect timing in that sense. And moving into administration and outreach activities that I attend, our violence prevention, my participation in the violence prevention task force started in October, and that's a bi-weekly meeting that I attend with the other appointees to look ahead to how we address crime in the city in all different ways. I also had a meeting with Brooklyn Public Library, and actually Melanie joined that meeting as well, where we're setting up telestory for Albany Public Library. It's video calls with inmates, between inmates and their families. And right now, the only way you do that in New York State is if you go downstate and have a family member who might be in the prison system. So this is going to be it's really going to open up family connections in the capital region for families of inmates who would otherwise have to drive hours to have a video call with their loved one. So really looking forward to setting that up. The Prisoners Legal Services show was already mentioned. I also just want to remind everyone, gallery hours run through December 19th. So we're offering gallery hours several times during the week, every week leading through December 19th. So tell all your family and friends. Literary Legends was a great success. They raised $27,568 cash profits, which is incredible. And I give them all a ton of credit. And we're really excited to help APL continue to evolve as an organization through their period of transition here. Featured November programs looking ahead. We're excited to do more with local history. So we're hosting Let's Talk Albany. And I think it's pronounced Cralo. Yeah, okay, great. I'm still learning about Albany, but Cralo is celebrating 100 years. And so that's being offered at Bach. Well, actually, no, excuse me, later this week. And we're also hosting a program later on just in November, a Native American perspective on an American holiday, which I really think that's a great program to offer at this time of year, because it also speaks to our DEIA goal. Under community engagement, we were able to attend the UAlbany Community Service Fair and spoke with students about intern and volunteer opportunities. Always it's great community events. Rebecca also hired a part-time library assistant, Aubrey Slatterprice, who I had the pleasure of meeting last week. Aubrey is based at Delaware. Aubrey is part-time and building our volunteer program and brings library experience from their past, which is great. We also started distributing Metroland at all of our branches. So that's the new free weekly that was just launched in the city of Albany. Under programs and partnerships, this was mentioned, but we presented the ethical discussion of AI society program with assistant professor, excuse me. And we also offered the misinformation and Barnamar all these out. So programs and partnerships, librarian Kelly also worked with Albany County crime victims and the sexual violence department present a continuing ed session for staff. And that's in observance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is October. Under branch services, just want to fly through some highlights in our branches. At Arbor Hill West Hill, our new youth services department of one, LA library assistant Bonnie Beaumont, has started to really ramp up programming in a positive way. She popular Play-Doh program. She reinvented our after-school program into a weekly crafter school party, and has led a really great book club for children 4 to 8 called My First Book Club. At Bach, we hosted an event on fire safety with firefighter, and that was very well attended. As well, Instagram. At Delaware, we had a fantastic turnout for our Asian tea ceremonies with Short and Stout Tea Lounge. At Howe, our leaf print card program was enthusiastically received, and participants was different leaves from right around the library, from right around grounds, to make imprints on greeting cards, which I thought was a really cool idea and a nice local, super local tie-in, craft-wise. At North Albany, we had slime time. I had no idea that there was such a thing as biodegradable glitter, but we used biodegradable glitter for slime time. I'm going to say that goes to our sustainability goal. I'm going to take credit for that under sustainability. Pine Hills, the All Abilities Social Group program is starting to gain some traction, some more interest. So twice a month, we offer an inclusive program, wide range of abilities. And this month, we used coloring and art with this group of patrons. And finally, last but not least, Washington Avenue. In addition to the art launch, we partnered with Historic Albany Foundation and presented another local history program on the Tudors on Holland Avenue, and had a really phenomenal attendance. Under operations and communication and creative services, I want to call out that the communications department really helped hang some artwork that you see in, which did require a lot of planning and layout and other materials. I had no idea that we had so much talent in that department. This gallery. Had a very popular Instagram post about the foliage outside of each of the branches. That was a fun thing to see. Under collections management, we completed the cataloging, processing, and rollout of 75 new hotspots. And those hotspots are now requestable. So no matter where you want to pick up a hotspot, you can just go online, through our catalog, request it, delivered to your branch, pick up, and you can borrow it, obviously for free. There's also an easier process for borrowing. So there's like a one-time, you agree to take good care of the hotspot, the hotspot, and return it with all of its elements. And after that, you don't have to go through a form every single time you use a hotspot. So that is lowering their and finally, under positions, we are interviewing the Delaware branch manager. So looking forward to completing that exciting hire for the library. And I think that just about does it. The IT team attended an annual cybersecurity symposium and participated in incident response tabletop exercise. This keeps our IT team really sharp. It makes them like it's an actual they act out an incident basically. So it's very intense, and and Jimson always comes back with a keener appreciation for how important it is to have that incident response plan, and thereby lower our insurance as well. So thank you. Any questions?
When you had talked about the fire drills and safety, do those happen during patron hours? Do patrons have to get evacuated for a fire drill?
No, we typically have a fire drill either before the branch opens or outside of branch hours. Here at Washington Avenue, we've had the opportunity to have several fire drills in the last month because people have been smoking in the bathroom, unfortunately. So we've had plenty of practice at this location and actually at Howe as well. But Matt has recognized some places where we can improve our process, and so we're looking forward to doing more of those drills. Getting our system down. Because the time you don't want to be worried about a drill is when you're faced with the actual event.
I just want to say that it's great to hear that there's my first book club at the Arbor Hill West Hill branch, because that was one of the results from the survey, that people apparently want more book clubs. So start them young.
That's exactly right. And that's actually a model that we're going to be rolling out to other branches as well. Because the youth services librarian in the programs and partnerships department kind of developed that model at Pine Hills. And now she's kind of bringing it to the other branches, and it's easy to run, it's easy to organize, and kids love it. So.
Any questions? Well, they're very exciting, very exciting. I'm looking forward to the outreach worker, because I know he'll definitely make an impact. So I'm glad he's on board. Monthly statistics.
Right. So looking at those monthly stats, and I thank Melanie for putting them together each month. Circulation increased year to date at Arbor Hill West Hill for the first time all year, which means, year to date versus year to date last year. So that's notable for October at Arbor Hill West Hill. And Howe also saw the first increase in year to date circulation since this past January. Arbor Hill West Hill's door count is 13% higher than year to date last year, and Pine Hills and Delaware are also seeing increases in door counts, so that's headed in the right direction. Computer use continues to trend higher at Arbor Hill West Hill, also inching close to the numbers from 2019. Overall room use is continuing to track higher than we saw in 2019, and program attendance at Delaware matched that of 2019. So those are some positive highlights. I would really like to see circulation continue to increase. I think, it rankles me that Bethlehem, with like half our population, exceeds APL in circulation, and someday we will prevail in that competition. It's a healthy competition. All media, yeah, downloadable ebooks, audiobooks, now hotspots. So we'll get there.
Bless you. Erica was so kind to pass out the quarterly reports. And I will pass them on to you. And if you would be so kind to fill those out, and we can quarterly board evaluation before you leave, if we can have those back, or you can email me, your results. So we can discuss it in the next meeting. So quarterly strategic plan update.
Yeah, so this is a continuation of last month's introduction of the the first quarter strategic plan report. As you might recall, I accidentally duplicated the workforce page of tactics for this plan instead of adding the sustainability page. So I'd like to turn your attention to the final page in the Q1 report. And I'll just go through the sustainability goals. So under objective 1, assess and address environmental trends and recommendations for energy efficiency. We did complete the installation of the window tinting at Arbor Hill West Hill, and really the step that we're at now is looking at savings on cooling costs, and actually for that matter, heating costs for Arbor Hill West Hill. The way that the window film works, it blocks obviously some of the sunlight that the rays that come in, the UV rays that come in, but it also acts as a little bit of an insulator on this as well. So we do stand to see some heating savings. That project we need to see. Tactic B is replacing the Washington Avenue roof with a new energy efficient roof. And right now we are in the process of, as you know, applying for the DLD funding to address that roof project. In implementation, we want to ensure that the replacement project progresses smoothly, that waste is handled responsibly. This building resolved, and our maintenance costs at Washington. Your objective 2, develop a long-term financial plan that increases revenue to meet capacity needs in the most fiscally responsible manner. A is savings opportunities for the next fiscal year and formulate an alignment. So Adam, addressing the budget for fiscal year 26 and looking at what positive changes we can make to that budget proposal. And Tactic B is develop a 5-year financial plan. Cover your expenses, draft 5-year plan. Obviously, we can only predict so much because for example, the CBA salaries, so there's so much we can actually predict. But we're going to do our best to, be somewhat conservative about it and address as much as we can as part of that 5-year plan so that we reduce surprises. That's the whole idea. Objective 3 is foster holistic professional development of staff, interns, and volunteers throughout their service experience. And this really goes to the sustainability of our human capital. Tactic A is improving organizational resilience and safety conditions for all staff for the benefit of APL culture and staff retention. And you are not going to be surprised to see that our head of public safety is primarily responsible for that tactic. So he will be developing a safety plan for the library, including necessary trainings. Like I said, the evacuation plans, even the use of our radios. That's something that we need to train. Conducting outreach to branch managers, branch staff, supervisors, and other departments. And hopefully at this time next year, actually January next year, we'll see that the result of that work all year long, that staff survey that always addresses safety and how safe staff will work, so that rating will improve. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for staff feeling are safer and being safer. Tactic B is increase recruitment of interns and volunteers. So Rebecca, our head of community engagement, is actively involved. That property program, really shoring up and developing that engagement and communication strategy to share all the great opportunities that we have at the library with interns and volunteers, and hopefully cultivate that employment pipeline. And that does require communicating regularly with interns and intern programs around the city and volunteers about the civil service process and how the employment opportunities at APL come up and how to actually access those opportunities. And that requires a lot of education. So it's just a lot of repetition. Here's how the process works to test all of that. And the end goal, of course, is to hire positions at APL. So we've already seen that happen time and time again, but we're really looking to ramp up those efforts and see more dividends there. So that concludes the sustainability portion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment? Before we go into executive session, I want to add something to the agenda. Next month, Whiteman, our council is Whiteman Hannah. Sorry,
Whitman, Osterman and Hannah.
and Hannah is up for a RFP. Their contract is going to expire. I think we have to renew it. So I'd like to take a vote on to have the RFP for legal counsel posted. Vote. It has to go. So next month that'll be on the agenda, but I'd like to take a vote to add that as well. Oh, right. We'll have a special meeting to approve the RFP prior to, but then it has to, right, and then it gets posted. Right. Right.
Just remember to speak into the mic. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just trying to establish what is the exact timeline we're working with? So their contract is up in December.
But yeah, but we still will have council be amended or extended.
My understanding is that it would just continue with the same rate unless and until there's a change.
So once the RFP is drafted, what does the timeline then look like in terms of decision? Like, so they're here till December 31st. What does the timeline look like in terms of decision making?
So typically what the process would be is we would agree that we're going to send the RFP out. We then draft that RFP. We have to come together to review the draft of the RFP and approve that to be posted. Once we approve that to be posted, it's really whatever timeline we put in for the proposal itself. So if we're giving people a month to respond to the RFP, firms a month to respond to the RFP, that would be detailed in that RFP. Once the closing period happens, then I believe it's the executive committee who will meet, interview the people who responded to the RFP, and decision will be made and recommended to the board. The board will vote on it and we will proceed forward. That's just a general like outline of what would happen for the RFP process.
Sorry, one more question. So does this happen at the end of every contractual agreement, or is it only if we're actually looking for new counsel, or this is just standard protocol?
It's standard protocol. So every 3 years we would, so typically what's happening here is the RFP would have already been out. We would have already posted that, and that's something that would have already happened in reference to us getting RFPs back, making the decision, making recommendations to the board, and the board deciding, do we want to go with this candidate, this firm for legal counsel. So because you really don't want to have a gap in legal representation. So being that their contract would end December 2024, ideally we would have already had whatever our decision would be in place before the expiration of that contract, so that we would be covered as a board. And so now we're a little bit behind the ball, essentially, where we have to figure out just how we want to proceed forward. I mean, it's always doable, whichever way we want to go as a board in reference to, we're just going to continue at the regular rate. Do we want to, make sure we get some special meetings in so we can maybe stay a little bit closer to the timeline, in reference to the end of December? I mean, we could ideally get in a special meeting to at least approve the draft so that it can be posted. because we can't post anything without approving as a board. So, just depends. So whoever starts, whatever firm we go with, they're gonna be starting with the crunch time is gonna be after the ideal time, which would be January 1st, 2025. So that's where really where
And if I can add to Trustee Gaz's explanation, anyone who wants to look in board docs, and you can use the term legal RFP as a search term, and you can see the flow of things from 2021. So you can see like the actual RFP that went out in 2021 and how that all played out. It's all in board docs.
So I think I know the answer to my question, but we as a board will just be updating the previous RFP. We're not starting from scratch to develop one, right?
no, yeah, so we're gonna update the timeline that goes out essentially.
Yep.
Anything,
I'm creating
Thank
the
you.
wheel.
right, it's already there. Let's just fill in the info. Yeah.
All right, so thank you. Now we're going to go into executive session. Someone would make a motion. Actually, right, we're going to go into executive session. Someone make a motion. We're going into executive session for the purpose of discussing executive director's evaluation.
Trustee West, I move that we go into executive.
Masinski, I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. We're going into executive session.
For those watching us online, the live stream will end now. Any decisions that will be made by the board, they'll come out of executive session to have any votes if they so choose. And those results of that vote will be made in the minutes. Thank you.